Hello, Blazers. Welcome to episode 104 of UAB Green and Told, original debut Monday, August 14th, 2023. This podcast gives us a chance to share stories from members of the UAB community. Take a listen back to past episodes at alumni.uab.edu/green and told, on Spotify, or the Apple Podcast app. And while there, leave a written review so more alums can discover us. I'm Greg Berry, a UAB alum and Director of Communications in the Office of Alumni Affairs. The bond between mother and daughter can be incredibly close-knit. For the guests of today's podcast, that appears to be the case. Jennifer and Alex Summerlin are both UAB-educated educators. But as they'll share, the classroom connection they now have wasn't one that was always in the cards.
I remember the moment she called me and said, I think I'm going to go into elementary education. And I said, what? And she said, I'm going to go into elementary education. I'm like, okay.
That decision proved to make one proud mama, and as we'll discover, made for quite the discussion when Alex became a student in one of her classes.
One of the students in the class told her, she said, your mom's really intense. And Alex said, yeah, she's like that all the time.
Yeah. They told me she's intense. I'm like, I know.
Intensity and passion easily exude from both Summerlins, and it's because of that, Alex found herself ready for reading, writing, arithmetic once she found herself with her own classroom of kids to teach.
I felt very well prepared to make instructional decisions and assess the kids and figure out kind of next steps for them.
Let's be real. Deep down, many of us want our kids to follow in our footsteps somehow, some way. It could be that you want them to possess your character or work ethic, or maybe you'd like them to share your alma mater or career path. For Jennifer Summerlin, the latter two came true through her daughter's choice to attend UAB and become a teacher. But let's start this story with the matriarch of the Summerlin family first. Before she would meet and marry her high school sweetheart, Jennifer had always had an idea of what she wanted to do.
I knew from birth I wanted to be a teacher. Played school, every teacher, no matter what the teacher did, I tried the instructional technique for myself. But when we got married, I just really wanted to take a year and work.
Okay.
So I worked at Health South when it was on the Hill. I did billing for a pain management doctor, and I got sick and was out a couple of days and came back and just thought, nobody knows I'm gone. Like, this job, anybody could be sitting in this seat. This isn't what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And my husband at the time, Scott, worked for UAB grounds. We were very, very young, 18 and 21. Oh, wow. So I got one free class at UAB because he worked for UAB, for the grounds department. And I started my work at UAB as an undergraduate.
What was it about education that drew it? You know, every little boy, every little girl, they sit their stuffed animals around them and they teach. I mean, I did it. My kids did it. But what was it about teaching that kind of drew you in?
I think that knowing that every day that I was there, people depended on me to be there and to be my best. I am very passionate about reading and math and writing instruction that allows kids to really be independent and grow in their autonomy as thinkers and learners. And so I just think knowing that I needed to be there and knowing that they were dependent on me being there was really what pulled me to it. A little bit about being in charge. I have to be honest, that's just a minimal thing because there's so much involved and it's a busy job. I mean, every day is something different. It's exciting, and I think kids are amazing. They're brilliant.
Were you kind of like your mom where you kind of grew up knowing you wanted to be a teacher, or was it, this is what my mom's doing, I really don't want to go that route?
It's kind of a back and forth type of thing. When I got to UAB, I actually took a chemistry class, and I had never really been very interested in science. And I loved it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a science degree. So I met with all of these, counselors, and I actually started in the biomedical sciences program. It was fabulous. I took all kinds of science classes, got right up until the end. And I was like, okay, I need to go job shadow, and very quickly realized that I was not meant to do any type of medical situation. And so I had to kind of revisit, and really I just liked learning the science and I was interested in the topics. So I did a UAB Teach program at UAB and kind of went into a classroom with kids, and I was like, okay, I've been fighting it, but this is the route that I need to go. So I swapped over to the education program, and yeah, that's it. So it was the best choice. I love being a teacher.
Jennifer, when you found out that your daughter was going to kind of follow in your footsteps and become an educator, was it a proud mom moment?
Of course. So I have two daughters. Alex is the oldest. Abby is 15 months younger than Alex. I wish both of them, would have gone into teaching, but they just kept saying, no, that's not what I want to do. And I will tell you, though, the moment that she got all the way through the biomedical science program and got to that point, her dad and I got very panicked because at first she was like, no, I'm just gonna, I think she said, be the manager of the Pandora. And my husband was like, what are you going to do? And I said, I can't do anything. She's an adult, but getting her in the UAB Teach was really the vehicle, because I just kept thinking, you've got all of this science coursework, and you love science and math, but she loves learning and I love learning. And so being in that 5th grade classroom, I remember the moment she called me and said, I think I'm going to go into elementary education. And I said, what? And she said, I'm going to go into elementary education. I'm like, okay. And then I'm thinking, I think I might be teaching you. We're going to have to really think about how this works. So
what was the transition like going from a classroom of young youth into now, okay, I'm teaching adults, basically young adults, and molding those minds? That had to have been kind of a totally different way of approach.
It was. I really didn't. A lot of people think the tenure in the school system, it's not similar to the tenure system in higher ed.
Okay.
Having to get on a tenure track position, and then the research component, the teaching and all of those were very, very foreign to me. And I'm passionate about teachers. So I really had to work hard at feeling confident as a writer and working with adult learners. It is different. It's very different. Their styles, their interests, their attitudes, helping them see the value of what you're talking about in a way that is useful, especially when they haven't ever taught. So they don't really have the background knowledge to go, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You have to really work hard to help them know this is what happens in the classroom, and this is why you need to understand this. I will say, though, that I've always had a pretty good level of credibility with students, and I know it's because of my time in the classroom. So that's been a benefit. Also, having taught in multiple school systems, everyone that I started teaching with, is either in administration or higher ed. And so those connections across the state have also been helpful for getting our pre-service teachers in classrooms to really see what it looks like and to try it out for themselves.
Alex, your mom mentioned that she chose UAB kind of by convenience because your dad was working. Why did you choose UAB? Knowing that your mom was there at the time and teaching.
In my mind, since I was a little kid, knew I was going to go to UAB. It's the only college I applied to. I also am very close to both my parents, so I wouldn't have gone somewhere far away anyway, just because I am always, talking to them, and I would have been too sad.
Why that connection with UAB?
I don't know. I guess just because she's always there, and I was just gonna go there.
When it came time when you switched courses and you're going education, was there kind of a concern that, I might be put in one of my mom's classes at this point for you, Alex? I mean, did that cross your mind?
I knew that was going to happen, but honestly, I was really excited because I've been, learning from her my entire life, but to hear her talk about, what she's passionate about and really learn the mechanics of teaching and how to plan, and that it was the best. So of course she's the same, at school and, as a teacher and in her actual life. So it was funny to see, when I would come home, my dad was the first day, he was like, what was your mom like as a teacher? I was like, she's exactly like she is here. Just
okay.
Something different.
So let's explore this a little bit, because it did happen. Let's start with you, Alex. Be honest. What was it like? I mean, was it kind of awkward? There had to have been moments that it's like, oh man, she's going to be grading me.
It wasn't so much that. I really wasn't worried about that. It was more the like social aspect of it that kind of made it, that was the most tricky part of it. Anyone who knows her knows that I did not get extra help that other people did not get. But I don't, sometimes other people may have thought, you know how it is.
How hard was it not to ask mom for a little help when you may have needed it?
I really like to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
So I don't want someone to just tell me, what it was. So it really wasn't that difficult because I was going to figure it out anyway, and figure it out on my own. So, I think it was good for us. Like when we would talk about different things or teaching and stuff like that, it's really cool to kind of, once I got that knowledge from her, it was really cool because, I could better understand, what she was talking about, and we could have more, rich conversations about it.
I will say, though, that one of the students in the class told her, she said, your mom's really intense. And Alex said, yeah, she's like that all the time.
Yeah. They tell me she's intense. I'm like, I know.
Alex, had you had other friends have classes with your mom? And if so, what did they say about her?
One of my best friends that I have now, actually, we went through the class at the same time and we taught at the same school for our first 3 years. She loves her. She's always asking, about her, and she's really lovely. So
she's being kind. It was tough at times because, I had to kind of set up a peer review system, and tried to be really transparent with the students. And I really addressed it in the very first class because I thought we just really need to handle this elephant that's in the room. And I said, I'm sure you're probably aware this is my daughter, but I was really transparent about and I'd set up a system with colleagues. I mean, we want to do right for all of the students that we teach, and we want to be fair and equitable. And that's just part of our ethical code. Having a peer review system in place allowed me to make sure that I was being fair, that I wasn't too hard on, I wasn't expecting more of her than I was other people, but I also wasn't favoring her in any way, to make sure that it was an equitable system. Everybody was very receptive. I mean, students were very appreciative of me kind of going ahead and setting up that system. And I think it worked out.
Alex, hearing those words that your mom's saying, how does that make you feel?
It's the best compliment ever because obviously I think she's the best teacher ever. So it's the best compliment ever. And it does make me feel very proud.
This is a unique relationship because, Jennifer, you have a real world case study that you can look at and ask her questions, see how things are going. Do you use that to your advantage today in the classroom?
Yes. So especially with the implementation of progress monitoring and screeners, with iReady and things like that, she helps me keep a pulse on, number one, what's happening in classrooms, the reality of what teachers are facing, which I then am able to use to say, okay, let's talk about how this works. Trying to help the pre-service teachers who, again, don't have much understanding, of the job is interesting because until you do it, there are so many things you just are unaware of. But helping them think about, okay, Alex is doing what we taught her to do. I mean, we taught her to use a workshop approach. We taught her to increase autonomy and independence in children, that's the goal, to create readers and writers and mathematicians and scientists and historians that are thinkers. And her students prove it with the results on their scores, and they've made unbelievable progress, beginning of the year to the middle of the year, and I can't wait to see what happens at the end. And so to be able to say to them, this, not only is it research and evidence-based, but it works. I mean, in real time. Let me show you, I often tell the pre-service teachers that if you teach a kid to think, they'll bring it to the test, no matter what the test is. But if you only teach the test, you're really impeding the child for their life. And so she's living proof of that. When I taught, we didn't have those kinds of standardized evaluations to show that kind of progress. And so it's really awesome to see, no, I know this works. I know that it's effective. I know it's best practices. And I can take you to a classroom where you can see it in real time. And we actually have the evidence that shows it. And that makes me so excited.
On the flip side, Alex, you have a great resource, basically continuing education, free education in your mom. Do you find yourself picking her brain a lot as you're navigating each class year?
Oh, absolutely. We work together to plan units and, think of different things that they can do. Or I bring their writing home for her to look at and kind of see, okay, I'm thinking, I'm going to do this next. What do you think we should work on next? And that kind of stuff, looking at their work. So absolutely take advantage of it.
Alex, what's the biggest challenge right now as a teacher in today's society?
I think for me, they are tested so much, and it is a lot. It is good to see the data, but I think that to an extent, I'm always collecting data on them, writing down, things they say, looking at work that they do. Sometimes it is that when they take a test on the computer, it's like that holds more weight than everything I've seen them do, for the entire year. There's so much more than what they did on a computer test on any given day. And so I think that is what I have a hard time with. At this point in the year, it's been, this many months of being with them every single day. So I know them, as people, and I know what they can do. And I know what they can do, and I can go to bat for them and prove, that they are able to do all of the things that they need to do. I just don't want them to think that because they got a certain thing on a standardized test on, a random Tuesday, that means anything about their intelligence or their ability to be 6 years old. So.
To be 6 years old,
Yeah.
right?
A lot of pressure on a 6-year-old.
There definitely is. Jennifer, you've spent a career in education. How have you seen the public schools in Alabama change?
In a lot of ways, we've made tremendous progress. In some ways, we're still a little bit behind. Tremendous progress in that, we're using data and evidence for decision making, and that's a tremendous growth. Being the professional development component. When I started, school systems were dependent on UAB and other institutions to host conferences, summer conferences, and schools would do that. Now that we have reading coaches in every school, they're able to provide that immediate and more individualized professional development for teachers, which is lovely. Having those people in place as a part of the school system that are doing that ongoing work is really, really powerful. One thing that I'm always concerned about is, the Literacy Act. I completely agree that we want all kids to be reading and proficient by the end of third grade. All of the research shows that early intervention matters. The quicker you find out there's a problem and start, with triple and third doses of support, the better it is. And it's harder to close the gap the further along. I am, though, just concerned that, about holding kids back. I know we've worked really hard for many years on getting the graduation rate up. The research also shows if a kid is held back, they're more likely to be held back again, which leads to, that causal chain of they're likely to drop out. I think that concerns me. I want the best for every kid. And we know that the majority of reading difficulties are due to a lack of instruction that was needed for the kid at that moment in time. And that could be for a lot of reasons. That doesn't even have to maybe necessarily do with teachers. We have schools in our state that have a lot of teachers on emergency certification right now. We really do have a deficit. With that said, I wish that there was a bit more attention to salaries for teachers. Also, I think one unintended consequence of all the testing is that it's hard to attract and recruit people to the profession if there's so much intense, high stakes accountability that you don't know is going to be public or not, that makes it difficult. Who would really want that as their job, especially if they're going to take a cut in pay, for doing something else. So we've got to keep getting the word out about ways to support children at home. We know that reading to kids from birth to 5 is one of the single greatest ways to impact reading achievement, and really building real partnerships between communities and schools of higher ed and the public schools, so that everybody's doing everything that they can to support families. Because as I'm sure you're aware of, there's a lot that happens in life that when you think about that hierarchy of needs, parents are sending their very best. They're sending their greatest treasure to us every single day. And there's so many other things going on that sometimes take precedence over an education. And that could be just food on the table. And it doesn't mean that a parent is not doing their job. They're doing everything they can do. And I just want us to be mindful of that and to really, work on wraparound services for families, so that we're really supporting all of their needs, because all of that impacts literacy.
If you had one thing that you wish your mom had taught you in the classroom, what would it have been that now?
Honestly, I think that I was as well prepared as you can be. There's a lot of invisible responsibilities or, things that you have to think through as you plan the entire day for 8 hours. I don't think there's anything else that could have been taught to me in the time, in the time that I was in school. I felt very well prepared to make instructional decisions and assess the kids and figure out kind of next steps for them, which is a majority of what, and how to set up my day and things like that. So taking all of those things, as the foundation, you just kind of fill in. There are some things you just have to learn at, doing the job. But all of the biggest things to be successful, I feel like I definitely knew.
That's Jennifer and Alex Summerlin. Jennifer is a 3-time graduate of the School of Education, earning her bachelor's in 1998, master's in 2003, and PhD in 2015. She's currently an assistant professor in the UAB School of Education. Her daughter is a 2-time graduate of the School of Education. Alex received her bachelor's degree in 2019 and master's in 2022. Today, she's a first-grade teacher at South Shades Crest Elementary School in Hoover, Alabama. With 5 degrees between them, this duo definitely has a great idea of what it means to be a Blazer.
Although I started because my husband, had that class, I got an amazing experience in the teacher education program way back when. And I am 2,000% the teacher I am because of all of those amazing people. I used to walk around as a student. I would walk in the hall in the old School of Education building, hoping that one of my teachers would come out and need to tell me something. I've always put UAB on a very high pedestal for promoting thinking. I am just absolutely honored to be on the other side of that door now and to be doing what these wonderful professors did for me. UAB is about, I want to say it's poetry in the city. I don't have a way of explaining it. It's a beautiful place nestled in the heart of Birmingham, where there's so much rich history, historical context. There's so many opportunities to help students understand diversity, to understand different ways of thinking. The sheer volume of students that we have who speak different languages and the experiences is really unbelievable. And it's right here in Birmingham, Alabama. And I love it. I think that we're always on fire. I think Dragons is very suitable. And that's what UAB means to me. It means a place for thinking and learning and critically questioning.
I've gotten to, meet a bunch of different professors and, teachers that are in the field at the school I'm at now, at schools that I've, gotten to be into. And so the connections that are made by professors at UAB really do set you up, for success, because they've already forged those paths, and you can get into schools because of them, and, get to see amazing teachers. So I really think it's about connections. I love UAB too. So.
Be sure to check out past episodes of the UAB Green and Told podcast. Listen in at alumni.uab.edu/greenandtold. Have a story to share or know someone who does? Email greenandtold@uab.edu. Finally, be sure to follow us on social media. Just search UAB Alumni on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for listening, and until next time, go Blazers.